So there are food objects, macaroni and cheese, baked beans, ribs. There's all kind of, soul food, barbecue plate objects. In this exhibition, they're also covered in gold. Putting them on the wall, I don't know, it reads a little differently. It reads less like something that you should touch and more like something you should reverence.
I'm Dalia Colon, and this is The Zest. Citrus, seafood, Spanish flavor, and Southern charm. The Zest celebrates cuisine and community in the Sunshine State. Today, it's the intersection of food and art. Quick reminder that we are still taking your questions for our Ask Us Anything episode. What do you want to know about food, restaurants, podcasting, our personal lives? We'll see how personal we're willing to get, but give it a shot. Send your questions to info@thezestpodcast.com. Now today, you know we love a good food and art crossover around here. You may recall our recent conversation with Malaika Hollist of Arts Access Florida. So when we heard that Miami-based multidisciplinary artist Chris Friday had a food-related exhibition at Sarasota Art Museum of Ringling College of Art and Design, of course we wanted to learn more. The show is called Where We Never Grow Old. It's Friday's first solo museum exhibition, very cool, and it depicts literal and metaphorical safe havens traditionally cherished by the African American community. Picture this: large-scale charcoal drawings that are embellished with life-size ceramic sculptures of food. Things like mac and cheese, candied yams, deviled eggs. Am I making you hungry yet? Okay, you might not want to eat these because they are all dipped in gold. Can you imagine? I think you're just going to have to go to the show so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. Friday spoke with me about how making ceramic food isn't all that different from actual cooking, and about how the exhibition reflects her identity as a Black American woman. The show Where We Never Grow Old is on exhibit at Sarasota Art Museum through August 10th, 2025. Here is my conversation with Chris Friday.
I've always loved art, and I've always drawn things, and I consider myself just to be a creative person. I have creative parents, so I feel like I came out just drawing, writing, doing all kind of things. But professionally, I've only been doing this for 5 years after graduate school. So this is, you're catching me like fresh out of the gate. I didn't really grow up in an environment where I understood that you could be a visual artist as a career, as a profession. So I love drawing, I love painting, but I didn't know you could actually do that and make money doing that and have a career doing that. So I figured that out randomly when I ended up at New World School of the Arts for undergrad. I went to an HBCU first. I went to Bethune-Cookman College in Daytona, and I was studying psychology there. And I saw the kids walking by with their portfolios. I had been, drawing throughout grade school, and I saw them walk into class with their portfolios, and I'm like, who am I kidding? I want to be one of those kids. So I switched to art on a whim, ended up at a school, New World School of the Arts in Miami, Florida, where they taught us that you could have a career as an artist. And I was just blown away by that fact. And everything that I learned there was like culture shock. So I've been doing it ever since.
Oh, I love that. Yes. And Miami is such a good place for that. Okay, this is a food podcast. So at this point, people are going, what is she doing on this podcast? But tell me about the exhibition in Sarasota and the role that food plays in it.
So Where We Never Grow Old, I think the theme is kind of around the idea of like two things. It's talking about what Black people have been deprived of in America. This idea, this luxury of growing old, like I gave a lecture on that recently. We haven't had the chance to really deepen our roots in a safe environment that like meant that our cultural traditions lived on or were able to be carried forward. We kind of created that for ourselves. It's this idea of a cultural afterlife, almost like a heaven or safe havens that we created. And one of those safe havens was absolutely in food. I heard somewhere that when we eat, the parts of our brain that understand pain is dulled, like our pain receptors are dulled or turned off momentarily. And so for me, I'm like, oh, that's a perfect representation of like these momentary escapes, these temporary escapes that we built for ourselves in Black culture, like our food. we eat and we're able to like just experience heaven just for a little while.
Oh, that's so good. You're making me think about so many things. Okay, paint a picture for me. What does this actually look like in a museum gallery? Is it macaroni and cheese nailed to the wall? It
Yes,
is.
absolutely.
You're shaking your head. Yes. I was joking. How do you do that?
With help. We had a fabulous install team. They kind of went with my crazy ideas of like, so first they're made out of ceramics. And so most of them have little holes in the back. So there's food objects, macaroni and cheese, baked beans, ribs. There's all kind of, soul food, barbecue plate objects. And before I've done fried chicken and everything like that. So in this exhibition, they're also covered in gold to kind of represent that special treasured nature of the object as well. So I just putting them on the wall, I don't know, it reads a little differently. It reads less like something that you should touch and more like something you should reverence. So I think that was, behind the decision to put it on the wall.
Wow. And I love that because this is a cuisine, if you want to call it soul food or Southern food, that doesn't always get its due,
Mm-hmm.
And so putting it in a museum really elevates it. Do you cook?
Hopefully. Yes.
Okay. What are some of your best dishes that you like to make?
So it's funny enough that my cooking and my family's cooking in general, my mom lost her mom when she was 14 years old. So we didn't have any family recipes to pass down. And so I feel like at this age, I'm kind of doing the same thing with my cooking for my daughters and my family that I do with my art, which is to supplement things that we don't have. I'm making up for things that we don't have. So I'm putting together a cookbook with all the best recipes that I found that people are giving me. I actually have a post up right now collecting recipes from friends and family members on my Instagram. The thing that my kids love the most right now is gumbo. That's the thing I'm like perfecting at the moment.
Wow. Okay. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I understand that you're not working with like perishable materials, actual food, but what were some of the biggest challenges you faced in creating this? I mean, because creating food is its own art. And then I can't imagine you're making, say, an elbow macaroni and you're covering it in gold. I would have no idea how to do any of that.
And I didn't. When I say I'm multidisciplinary, I'm being generous. I'm not a trained ceramicist at all. So everything that I learned from friends along the way. Like it's people they don't think it robbery to just sit there with me and say, hey, what are you trying to make? And then, let me show you an easier way to do that. And just teaching me. So everything that I'm doing is like an amalgamation of all the people that I met along the way in my journey. So I'm proud of that fact as well. I've had to learn everything on the go.
I love that. And that's how we cook anyway. It is an amalgamation because you mentioned your grandmother, and my grandmother lived a long life, but she got fried chicken from Church's Chicken and just put it in a nice dish. So nobody's getting a chicken recipe from that side of the family.
Exactly. So you do what you can.
Yes, beyond what you've already told us about like the cultural significance of food, why else do you think food is a good vehicle for exploring? I mean, it touches so many things. It touches politics, it touches environmental issues, culture, obviously, and art. I mean, that's kind of what we try to do here on the podcast. You could have made it about like, I don't know, Black music or clothing or any number of things, but what makes food such a good starting point?
I think for all the reasons you said. And also this idea that like food is a connecting concept. We gather around food. Food nourishes us as a community. And I think that when people see some of the things that are represented, like a bologna sandwich, that is a very specific experience. You know what I mean? Like not
that
everybody.
That tells you everything you need to know about that person's childhood.
Exactly. Exactly. Right? So there are these unspoken things that are represented by the food objects that are included. And so when two people who've had a bologna sandwich stand next to each other, it's like, I know what this is.
Yeah.
Tell me about your experience. And they start talking about it like that it never fails. It always happens. So whether you're eating it or just talking about it, it's a way that people connect. And it doesn't matter if they're Black or not. If you've had a bologna sandwich, you're able to connect over that experience. So I think that's why it's so important.
Okay, let's talk about Juneteenth. Big
Mm-hmm.
food holiday. You know, we've been speaking with Kiva Williams up here in Tampa Bay, the fun foodie mama, and she taught us all about Juneteenth food traditions. What does that look like for you? Do you have something special that you like to eat or drink on Juneteenth?
Barbecue. So we have the deviled eggs,
Barbecue.
we have the ribs, we have the baked beans and the rice, and we do it big.
Yes.
I
Oh,
can't wait.
oh my gosh. I know. Every day. We might need to make it like a month-long situation.
Man,
Okay.
my waistline would not survive a month long.
Okay, now that is a good question because you mentioned working on a cookbook. I wrote a cookbook as well, the Florida Vegetarian Cookbook, and I gained 10 pounds while writing that cookbook. It was also COVID,
See?
so half of that was just me snacking on nonsense. But did you kind of like make it a full experience, and were you eating these foods as you were working on it?
I made it a point not to
Okay.
because it would have got out of control.
Yes. Yes. Point taken. Point taken. You said you're a big foodie. And you're based in South Florida. So where are some of your favorite spots down there?
Ooh, one of my favorite places every time I go into the city in Miami is Chef Creole. It's a Haitian cuisine restaurant. Oh my God. The rice and beans, the conch fritters, the fish, just the conch salad. Oh my God. That's my favorite place, hands down. So if you're ever in Miami, I'm not getting paid to advertise this, but you should try it.
Okay. What was the name again?
Chef Creole.
Chef Creole in Miami. All right. What's next for you? Would you work on another food project?
Absolutely. I have a dream food project that I want to bring to life. I've already done one smaller version of it, which is I hand rolled ceramic rice into, it's a 13-pound pile so far.
That
But
sounds extremely tedious.
It is, but in the best way. My mom helped me, my daughters helped me. And so we got to talk and have this communal experience while we were making the rice. And so I would love to like include community leaders and people like you, if you were interested in doing something like that, to sit down and create this humongous pile of rice, one that would like reach the ceiling of a museum or a gallery. And then the special thing about this pile of rice is that it's given away one spoonful at a time. So it's not something that gets sold and moved to the next museum. People are allowed to come in and take it. So we're like feeding the community in that way.
Wow,
Yes.
that sounds incredibly tedious. How old are your daughters, by the way?
One is 18, graduating high school, and the other is 9 years old.
Wow, congratulations. Okay, I have a 9-year-old son and a 13-year-old daughter and a 26-year-old stepdaughter. And I kind of like, I like that you said it was tedious in a good way, because when I think about the kitchen chores that we did as kids, it was like snapping the green bean ends or taking the collard greens off the step. It was those like very repetitive tasks, but they're also kind of meditative, and they're a way that anybody, young, old, regardless of if you can cook or not, that's something that everybody can do. So it brings back that communal aspect, which I really like. Wow. Oh, that is beautiful. Okay, so tell us one more time about the exhibition, because I know people want to see it. We have a lot of people listening in Sarasota, or if you're just there for a day trip, maybe hitting a couple museums and a restaurant or something. So tell us one more time where this exhibition is and when people can see it.
So it's at Sarasota Art Museum. It opened on May 4th to the public, and it'll be up until August 10th. And I should be back at some point to do an activation in the middle of the gallery. We're still designing it, so we don't know what it's going to be yet, but I would love for anybody who's interested in seeing the exhibition to come out and be a part of that activation. It's going to be,
I love that. Yes. So let's drill down on what the exhibition really looks like, starting with people come off the elevator, the doors open onto the second floor. What do they see?
So they see my name, Chris Friday, and the title of the exhibition, but they also see gold chains hanging over the gallery walls. And they're these really huge, almost, I forget what it's called, the mariner's chain that I used to wear when I was a young girl. And it's ceramic as well, but it's been covered in gold luster. So it looks like an actual, gold chain and dripping from the wall. And then you see a nameplate with the word Friday on, the right-hand side. So you'll see that first. That's the first image that you'll see. Walking in, you'll see three figures. Well, it's two figures on either side, Venus, future Venus 1 and 2. And then you see my mother, portraits of my mom. It's a triptych. So you'll see two at the far end of the gallery and then another one that's directly across from it. So they're having dialogue with each other. Everything in the show kind of encompasses this idea of safe havens. It's not just food, even though that's one of the central points of the exhibition, but all the various ways in which the Black community has created safe havens for themselves, things that make us happy and bring us joy, regardless of what we've been going through in this country that we live in, the foods that we eat, the ways that we journal, things like jewelry and fashion, and the way that we kind of use our creativity to feel luxurious and to have small moments of luxury throughout our lives. So, it's just, again, the exhibition is just about how we find and create moments of rest and safety for ourselves.
Oh, that's beautiful. But, when I'm cooking something, I have a recipe or I at least have an idea of where I'm going. So what was your thought process and your quote unquote recipe for creating these pieces of art?
I think I started with what I wanted to talk about first. So I just thought about what was going on in society, what's going on in my own life. I'm looking at the fact that books are being banned, that history is being erased, that this same cycle that happens generation after generation of like this erasure is happening. So it's like, okay, how do I want to respond to that as an artist? Where we never grow old. Well, first let's talk about that, what that means. It's not like, it's referencing nostalgia and youth, but it's also talking about how we haven't had the chance to just grow as a people, mature as a community. We haven't had that chance. And so like from there, I just started thinking about, okay, well, what did we do? We didn't just cry about it. We created safe havens. What do these safe havens look like? Where do we run for escape from what we're dealing with? We ran to music, we ran to fashion, we ran to the arts. In each one of those categories, I created some kind of artwork to reference those miniature safe havens. So that's my recipe for building out the show, and all the work that followed just references music or food or something in some way.
That's beautiful. And you're doing what our ancestors have done for centuries, which is taking something tough and turning it into something beautiful, something delicious, something to be celebrated. Okay, yeah. So when we look at these pieces, I'm looking at a couple of the photos now, they are larger than life, but then you get up close and the food is to scale. So talk to me about your thought process there.
I think that scale is always a question of how you want somebody to experience something. It being on a real life scale is just intimacy. It's just that smaller, like, oh, I know this. It's giving you that one-on-one moment with that object for you to reference whatever you can, for the memory to come up, for it to bubble up and be like, oh my God, I love this. It's a quiet thing, And then some of the things are extra large because it's like, oh wow, like this thing is iconic and it's not just for me, it's for everybody. So yeah, let's make a 20-foot long chain that can be wrapped around 6 people. You know what I mean? Like it's a shared experience in that way. So some things are more personal, some things are shared. And as far as the figures being extra large and monumental, that represents my desire for rest and leisure and safety. So those bodies are always oversized. They're made out of paper, so they're super awkward to install. You have to be very careful when handling that artwork. And that just reflects how I want Black bodies to be treated in society. So you can rip it, you can tear it, you can damage those works. So you have to be careful. I'm forcing you to be careful.
Wow. Okay. I was going to say food for thought, but that's a terrible pun, but it really is. I mean, there's so much to appreciate on a large scale level, on a small scale level, and then just like mentally and emotionally and all the memories. There are so many recipes. There are so many things we could talk about, but just picking one, say the deviled eggs. Talk me through step by step how you did that, because I think many of us are familiar with making a deviled egg in real life, an edible one. What did that look like for this process?
It actually looked kind of similar to the process of doing it in real life. I don't know why, but I feel like sometimes handling it in the same way produces a similar result, if that makes sense. So I rolled the clay into the shape of a ball or an egg shape, and then I actually cut it in half. I had to wait for it to get a little firmer so it wouldn't smush, but I cut it in half. I scooped out the inside like you would with an actual deviled egg. And then I let that part dry a little bit, gave it a little bit of time. And then, yes, I actually did use a piping bag for some of the clay. So I made it really soft. I mixed it with a lot of water. And then I actually came in and did some of the piping with the bag. So after I kiln fired it, I painted it white, painted it yellow, but it didn't look right with just white and yellow because deviled eggs have seasoning, right? So I took some of the glaze, the underglaze, and I painted it onto a piece of plastic wrap, and I let it dry like that. So it would be a thin layer. Then I kind of crunched it up to create the red pepper, the green, I think it's parsley flakes that they put on it. And so I sprinkled that onto the deviled eggs afterwards, did a top coat, clear glaze, and then fired it again. So yeah, it was very similar to the actual process.
Wow, it is. Amazing. I mean, I don't have your art skills, but I'm like, oh, maybe I could make something out of clay. Well, Friday, this was such a joy. Like you said, everybody loves Friday, and I know everybody's going to love this exhibition. So thank you so much for talking with me.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Chris Friday is a multidisciplinary artist based in Miami. Her show, Where We Never Grow Old, is on exhibit at Sarasota Art Museum through August 10th, 2025. I know you want to see photos of the works that we've been talking about, so just head to our Facebook or Instagram at The Zest Podcast. I'm Dalia Colon. I produce The Zest with Andrew Lucas and Alexandria Ebron. The Zest is a production of WUSF, copyright 2025, part of the NPR network.